Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, guys. This is Terry Preston in the background from This Girl Got Roots. And also, we have Miss Alexis Goins, who is one of our volunteers from Longleaf Hospice, where I am the volunteer and community outreach coordinator. My job and responsibility is to recruit volunteers and also to sow seeds out in the community and build partnerships. Alexis came to us about almost 2 years ago, right?
2 years in June.
Okay, 2 years in June. She had never volunteered for hospice before. This was a new experience for her. So for you guys that are on the fence and, you guys have sent me emails and said, oh, I want to be a volunteer, but I don't know, sure. Alexis is going to tell you a little bit about her experience and how she got started, and also some of the relationships she's had with our families, which are wonderful relationships. Our volunteers do everything from sitting with our patients to dropping things off for them. We have a wonderful program called Petals of Love, which Alexis is a big part of, and she'll talk a little bit about that. So welcome, Alexis.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you so much for taking time off on this Sunday to come with us. So Alexis, in June, you made a phone call to Longleaf, and tell us a little bit about that. What made you to make that phone call to come on with Longleaf Hospice?
Well, mainly I did want to start volunteering just to kind of give my own life more purpose, to be honest. I saw the flyer at a place I used to work, and I held that flyer for about a month before I decided, because I didn't know what it was going to be like to be a hospice volunteer. But I reached out to Longleaf, and Terry contacted me back.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I was nervous because I didn't know what to expect. As soon as I saw hospice volunteer, I just immediately thought like just a person just laying there, dying, like sadness. But I was intrigued. By it. So the process is, Terry or Lloyd, they interview you to see if this is really a good fit for you, if your personality can fit with it. We get our TB test, our background check, just to make sure everything is good. I came on board in June of 2019, and what I've done mostly is just relieve the caretaker. So for 2 hours, I come to a person's house, and I just sit with the patient, while their caretaker goes to do whatever they want to do for 2 hours.
And also, can you explain that sometimes I think that people have the perception that, like you said, people are just laying there. That is what happens sometimes. But you had the patient that was very lively, yes, and you had great conversation.
Yes.
And I want people to know that hospice just encompasses so many different people and so many different experiences. You could very well be with a family for almost a year, like yes, you were with one time.
Yes.
And Alexis would go, and this is what I love so much about Alexis. She was with the family twice a week. We have another volunteer. Her name is Miss Linda. She did the same thing. And typically our volunteers do 2 hours a week, but Alexis went over and above, and she was such a great match with that family that she went twice a week. Some of the things that you can experience, and I want you guys to know that, remember that you're going into a home and you may see things that may be contradictory to what you believe in.
Right.
Can you say a little bit about the experience when you went and saw the caricatures and things like that when you went to the patient's home?
Yes, and it is important not to over-identify with what you see in a person's living space. For example, I'm a woman of color. I'm a Black woman. And I went to a client's house, and they had these mammy all over the kitchen. All over the kitchen. And so when you go in, that's not a positive image. Nobody associates that to be a positive image. But it wasn't about me. And that's what hospice training taught me. It's not about me. It's about relieving the caretaker and being there for the patient. Now, it caught my eye, but through the wonderful training to be a hospice volunteer that I received from Longleaf, I already knew not to over-identify with what I saw. You know, the focus is the patient and being there for the caretaker and the family, just to get them some relief, because some people only have one caretaker. That caretaker cannot leave them. They cannot leave their side. They don't get a break. They can't go get their nails done, a haircut, or go to the grocery store. So when I saw the caricatures, it did catch my eye. But even from the very first moment, I never over-identified with it. And that was the family I was with almost a year or a year.
Yes. You had a wonderful relationship with that family. I mean, a wonderful relationship. And that family, that caregiver originally was not on board with getting a volunteer.
Right.
And I would just call her on a weekly basis and say, "You sure?
Yep.
You know, we have a volunteer here for you." So it was a perfect match. And typically what I do is I do a volunteer assessment when a request is made from a family that they want information about the program. I will reach out to the family and talk a little bit about maybe possibly coming up to do a volunteer assessment. The volunteer assessment, I want to make sure the home is okay.
Yes.
Whether they have dogs or pets, what kind of energy is in the home, if there is any family dynamics that I need to know about, so I can pass it on to the volunteer. Once that's done, and then I will go back to my volunteer board, and then I will find the volunteer that I think closely matches that family's personality. Because two things is that you want it to be a good match for the volunteer, and you also want it to be a good match for the family.
Right.
If it's not at any time, and this is what I tell my volunteer, if you go into a home and you're just not feeling the energy, and something that you see that just contradicted you, something that you just can't get over, let me know. We'll find someone else, because we want you to have a great experience, because that's important to me. Another thing is that our volunteers are required to take tests. They're required to do a drug test,
yes,
background check, now fingerprinting as of October 2020,
yes,
and a TB test. And I had someone reach out to me and say, "Well, you know what? That's too much to become a volunteer." Remember that if that was your loved one or your grandmother or your aunt, you would want to feel that you are safe leaving
right,
your family
right,
with that one. So that's so important. That is so important. And we do have families like, they really are really leery about someone, yes, coming. And I know you've experienced that,
yes,
they're really leery about somebody coming in. However, I have never, ever had a match volunteer. I've always been, thank you God, that I've been able to do a good match with the family. Some of the other things we do is the Petals of Love, which is I love the Petals of Love program.
Me too.
And Alexis too. Even during COVID, we had an amazing volunteer team that still took pick-me-up bouquets to our families. And you want to talk a little bit about that and any experiences that you had with
now,
that?
I do love sitting with my families that I have sat with, but I love flowers. I love flowers. I keep flowers in my home all the time. So when Terry introduced me to the Petals of Love, like, even though it's COVID, it still brings such a big smile to the patients, to their caretakers, to their family. They cannot believe that we are pulling up on a Saturday and a Sunday in our free time to bring them flowers. Mm-hmm. But I love it. The flowers are beautiful, and it's a pick-me-up. As soon as they see it, they light up, and I love it. I make myself a route. Mm-hmm. I load my route, and I just want to say to anybody thinking about becoming a volunteer, what really made me become a volunteer, I track my time on Facebook every week. 2 hours a week. I spend 4 to 5 hours a week on social media. So why not give something, just sow a good seed into somebody else's life for 2 hours? Mm-hmm. You cannot, some people say they don't have time, but if you track your time on social media, and you are on social media for hours every week, I feel like you can take 2 hours to 4 hours a week to just lighten somebody else's load. So that's what was a big determining factor for me. I'm not that busy. I am a busy person, but I am not that busy. So.
And Alexis is actually going to deliver flowers today. So.
Yep. Got my route planned.
So do you think that it's an easy process to become a volunteer? And how did you feel about the training?
The training was... It took me through some emotions I didn't even know I had when it comes to death and the dying. The training was wonderful. The process... It's a long process, but as Terry said, you want to know when you're leaving your loved one with me that I'm not going to rummage through your things, steal medication, manipulate the patient. It's for the patient's safety. The drug test, the TB test, the background test, the fingerprint. I didn't mind it because if I had a loved one that I was leaving with a stranger, I would want to know all those boxes had been checked.
Exactly.
It did not bother me at all. I was happy when it was over so I could start volunteering, but it's a necessary step and I don't think it's too hard. It wasn't too hard for me.
Awesome. I mean, that's really, really important, and we want people to feel safe with our volunteers, and we want our volunteers to be safe in the environments that they have. Is there a bit of wisdom that you can give to our volunteers before we end? Or anyone thinking of becoming a volunteer?
Hospice is not as gloomy as you think it is. Being a hospice volunteer, it really has added a layer of empathy to my life that I was missing. It has added on to the empathy that I already had. It's fulfilling to me. It's going to teach you to be a good listener. It teaches you so much about life being around people that are like have been given a time frame for their lifespan. It just gives you a new appreciation of life, and it gives you wisdom from sitting at the foot of people that they know what they facing. You know, they looking death right in the face, but all of my patients or their families have been optimistic. So it's not as gloomy as people think, because when I say hospice volunteer, people go, oh, wow, really? But it has added so much to my life. You know, it has added so much to my life, and I'm thankful for all my patients that have allowed me to come in their home and allowed me to come in their space just to be able to share those months or those weeks with them. It has added so much to my life, and if you are thinking of volunteering, go for it. You don't just have to go to people's house. You can deliver flowers. You can do clerical. You can call people.
Yes, our tuck-in calls. Yes, our tuck-in calls.
A
TLC.
smile, a listening ear. It go a long way with people. Flowers, just checking to say, are you okay? Is your family okay? It goes a long way. It goes further than people think it does. You know, we don't live in this world without others. We are all interconnected. So I'm honored to be a hospice volunteer. I'm honored to be allowed in someone else's sacred space, you know, during their last days. I'm honored to be a hospice volunteer for Longleaf.
Well, we are so blessed. I'm just so, the first day that I met you, when we had coffee, I think it was your birthday, wasn't it?
Yes.
We went out for coffee because I like to meet my volunteers just to see where their heart is. It's one thing to talk to somebody on the phone. Right. It's another thing when you meet somebody in person, you kind of get a chance to know their life story. And, you know, she has 2 beautiful daughters and a wonderful husband and a dog.
A dog.
So I got a chance to know that, and then also to find out which patient you would be better suited for.
Yes.
So I'm blessed and honored and just so grateful that you're part of our team. Thank you so much for being an amazing volunteer. If you guys want information, you can reach out to me at terry.preston@Longleaf Hospice, or you can call me on my cell, or let me give you my office number, 770-939-9179. Thank you so much, Alexis, for joining us today. And just thank you guys for being part of Longleaf Hospice volunteer team. And if you're interested, please reach out to us. In the meantime, have a wonderful and satisfied Sunday. Have a good one.
It's been an honor.